So recently, this YouTuber named Pham released a book, and it's been very controversial, mostly because people think that she got this book deal because she's famous and it gave her a boost in the community, which in one hand could be that fact, but it also could have been the fact that the book was good. So in the upcoming video you guys will see pretty soon, because I'm literally almost done with it, it's a 24-hour readathon where I read Just Friends by Pham. Now, once again, that entire video will be out soon. It is a very long video. It's taking me forever to edit, and I still got 2 more hours left on that clock. This is not included, by the way. Like, you get the rules when the video comes out, but I have 2 more hours on the clock. But I've already finished this book, and I want to do an analysis on it, and I want to talk about my opinions on this book as well as some other opinions. So buckle up, besties. Let's get into the video. So first thing is the presentation of the book. People often say this was like Emily Henry's type of style, which I agree. I've only ever read one of her books, but I own multiple, if that makes sense. Like, I have 3 of her books, but I've only ever read one. And this cover does give Emily Henry vibes. Now, on the inside, there's this gorgeous like letter thing on the end pages. They're not really pages, but on the end pages. And then I got this pre-ordered, like, so I have this early copy thing. This is only in the first printing of her book, so I was able to get a first print of this novel, which is so cool. It has all the ratings and reviews of all the authors here. She even has Lynn Painter on the front of her book, which she has an entire video talking about how she got Lynn Painter to do this, because she sent Lynn Painter the first draft of her book. But that is the presentation. It really does give off summer Emily Henry kind of book vibes. Now let's actually talk about the contents and what this contains. Okay, so this book is like 300 pages and some change. It's like literally 305 pages, if you exclude the annotated version, like, because there's a version in the back. I forgot to mention this, but there's a part in the back where you kind of see her annotations on a certain chapter after you finish reading it. So if you don't include that, then it's about 305, 308 pages in this book. And this book is, I think it is adult, but it is like YA content. That like makes sense. Like, you can read it as a YA, but it's adult, I think, because there's no smut, and there's like the heaviest part of this book, like the most like heavy part of this book would be the sense of grief and the mentions of grief and the discussions of grief in this book, because one of the characters loses a important family member. Actually, our FMC loses a very important person in her life, and we follow her journey of grief. If anything, the romance is kind of like a subplot, because you kind of see how she weaves through the grief most of the time, so you're not really focused on the romance for a good chunk of the book, and then the romance comes in later on, which I really like that, because we kind of got to dig deeper into Haley's mind while she was writing it, and it made it very fun. Now, I was not surprised that there was no smut, because it's Haley Pham. She's a Christian, just like me, and we don't really do smut, like, because we just don't find it that appealing. So I was not surprised when there was none in here. I was like, okay, cool. I can like fly by this and read the whole thing. Now, I want to say about 30% physically, and then I read 70% on the audiobook, because I was busy and I started falling into a slump because I was reading books back to back. So I was like, let me put on my headphones and listen to the audiobook. Now, I did catch up on a few things. Now, I rated this book 4 stars, because the reason why is, while this was kind of like some stuff didn't really make sense, like the way she described things, I rate this book 4 stars because it's my hobby. I was writing it based off of enjoyment, and I didn't really care if it made sense. I just wanted a quick, fun read, and this was that. And I realized that when I take books too serious, like more serious than they're supposed to be, and I'm like overanalyzing every single detail, I stopped enjoying my books. So I was just like, I'm going based off the vibe and how I felt when I finished, and the overall rating of the book. So that gave me my 4 star. But it could have used a bit more editing. There were like things like adjectives and all sorts of stuff, and these metaphors that did not make sense, or kind of felt like they were like put in there to like impress the reader, when in reality we did not need that. There was a quote. She was walking down the street. I forgot what it was, but it was so overcomplicated, when she could have just said like the sidewalk was full. But it was like there's like a bustle and hustle. Like, it was some like word. I think it started with a C, and it was like there was a cognitive amount of people on the sidewalk. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody uses that word on a day-to-day basis. And there was some other stuff where I was just like, okay? But I was enjoying myself. I was having fun, so I just let it slide because I'm not here to take books seriously. I'm here to have fun, and you cannot judge me for having fun and not taking my book seriously. Let me live my life, okay? Let me live my life. Let me have fun. Let me do what I want to do, okay? Okay, let me do that. So now that we've kind of gone over why I got my rating and what like I feel like needed to be improved in this book, let's talk about what the book is actually about. Okay, so we have Blair and Declan. They used to be best friends when they were children, all the way up to senior year of high school, I want to say. And then one year they had a falling out and she left town because there was an accident. And she left town, she went to college, but then her grandmother got sick. No, her aunt got sick. Her aunt, great aunt, one of those things, got sick, and she came back to Seabrook. And I know when I say Seabrook, I automatically think of the Disney movie Zombies because Seabrook High or whatever, but it's not that. It's not that. She comes back to Seabrook and she's living her life, and she goes to the coffee shop, and guess who was the manager of the coffee shop? Declan, her ex-best friend. So she's kind of like trying to weave her way through and kind of bump into him that often because she's just here for her grandma. But then some tragic stuff starts to go down and she feels very alone, and that's where Declan comes into the picture. So yeah, the book does handle grief. It was not too heavy to the point where I was just like, oh my gosh, like what? But it was a very prominent feature in the novel, and I feel like it was very important. We got to kind of see a lot into Haley's mind, which I love. Like, we really got to see a part of Haley in this book, and I love how she put an ounce of herself into the story. Like, this definitely felt very special to her, and I felt like I was kind of seeing a side of her. I've only been watching Haley Pham for about 3 years when I first joined like the book talk booktube community, so I'm not an OG like the rest of you guys, but I've been here for quite a while, and I've seen the way that she's read books and loved books and analyzed and reviewed books, and it was very exciting to see, kind of see her entire process of writing Just Friends. And there were a lot of harsh reviews when the arcs were going around, and I was very scared because a lot of people said that it was not good, and not just because of the big words that didn't make sense and the other stuff that I mentioned that needed a bit more editing, like editorial line editing, but the story overall was enjoyable, and I would recommend it to anybody who's just looking for something fun. Now, if you're one of those people who like to really dive deep into books and have everything align and make sense, maybe this one is not the one for you because, like I said, there were some things that didn't make sense and some things that were paired together that didn't really go together. So if that's not your thing, I would not say but like read it. But if you just want something quick, fun, with that spring kind of vibe to kind of get you out of a slump, then I would say Just Friends is the book to read. Now, since we're on the topic of new authors, I just want to like self-promote myself real quick. I wrote this book, The Ruined Royals, and this is my debut YA fantasy, clean YA fantasy novel by me, Madison Hall. This book took me 3 years to write, and we're not going to get into the synopsis of this because it's not what you guys are here for, but I did kind of want to put this out there. This is on Amazon. It's available, and pre-orders for its novella comes out. Go check out my Etsy if you guys want pre-orders for the signed copy of Broken Past, which is the novella, and also for signed copies of The Ruined Royals, which is the full-length novel, which is only the first in a trilogy. I did not want to exceed the trilogy, but I did want to give a backstory on one of the characters' parents, but they didn't need an entire book. They just need a novella. Anyways, with that being said, this video is over. Thank you so much for watching. Merry Kisses, bye out, and goodbye.